In this session, we will look at how can we create a deployment pipeline in Power BI services. I'm in my Power BI services homepage, and here, first of all, you need to go to the workspace that you desire to create the deployment pipeline in. So I can navigate to workspace, and over here, I can select my workspace. So over here, the workspace that I'm selecting is Skill Squad 2, and I'm selecting this because it is a premium workspace. Now, to create a deployment pipeline, you can find the option over here of Create Deployment Pipeline. You can also click on New. And if you go to the more options, you can find the option over there as well. If not, you can click on this three dots, and over here you can find the option of deployment pipelines. I can click on the create deployment pipeline, and I can name this deployment pipeline as skill squad deployment pipeline. Click on next. Now it would ask you that how many stages do you want of your pipeline. For example, development, test, production, UAT, and you can add several other stages as well. To add a stage, you can click on add, and you can name your stage. If you want to delete it, you can just click on this delete stage option. After that, you will click on create to create this deployment pipeline. Now it would ask you that what is the workspace that you want to assign to your pipeline. Now remember that that workspace should be of premium. I will click on assign, and it would assign this workspace to my deployment pipeline. Additionally, you can also click over here and you can select your particular workspace. Now let's say that I want to add some of these features to any other report or any data over here. How would it show in the test and the production environment? So for that, what you can do is, let's say that currently in my development stage, I'm having this Power BI course report. I click on it and I make some changes over here. So let me go to any other page like this page, and let me select any visual. So first of all, I will click on edit. I will select any visual, like I can select this table and I will delete it. After that, I will click on the save option. So here I have the save option. I will click on save this report, and this report has been saved. Let me refresh it again. Now go to your deployment pipeline. When you are in your deployment pipeline, now since you have made the changes to this report inside this workspace, so after you refresh, the changes should reflect over here. Let me add these workspaces to these also. So now the changes are being reflected over here. Now remember, you can add multiple workspaces to other stages as well. Now, since I have added the workspaces, what it would try to do is it would try to transfer the data from the development stage to the test stage, and from test stage to the production stage. You can see this option over here, which is saying that there are some changes being made and the report which is in the development environment and the test environment is not matching. If you click over here in this more option, you will find the compare option. If you click on the compare option, you will find out that the Power BI course inside this development environment is not matching the Power BI course in this test environment. This is because I previously moved everything inside the test environment, and after I made changes in this Power BI course, I haven't moved it or I haven't deployed it to the test environment. To move it to the test environment, I can click on deploy. And let's say that I have removed a table, so I can add a note over here that removed table from page 2. After adding a note over here, I can click on deploy, and the item which was in this development stage has now been moved to the test stage. You can see the synchronization is now completed, and I can see this green box. That means the items which are in the development are matching the items in the test. And if you come over here, you will also find out that it says no changes were made to the content since the last deployment has happened. Now again, whoever is in the test environment responsible for checking this and making sure everything is working fine, they would be able to see the changes that we have made and also the notes that we have provided. If you click on this history, it would tell you the history of this particular stage. Now over here, after that person has reviewed this Power BI course report, they will make sure that everything is working. Then they can move it to the production environment. To again move it to the production environment, I can click on that report and I can click on deploy. And you can see now everything is matching in the development, test, and production environment. If you wish to see the deployment history, you can click on the deployment history option and it would tell you the deployment history of every particular stage. If you wish to see the deployment history of a particular stage, you can click over here and select that stage. If you click on manage access, you can provide the access to different people over here across your organization. So let's say that I want to provide the access to a particular user for this test stage and another user for this production stage, I can do so. If you click on the settings, it would give you an option to change the name of this pipeline and also add a description of this pipeline. If you wish to delete this pipeline, you can click on this three dots and you can choose the option of delete pipeline and click on delete pipeline. Again, to create a new pipeline, you can click on new pipeline. You can add the name over here. So let me name it as skill squad for now. Click on next, add the environments, click on create and add a workspace. So this time I'm adding a single workspace. Let me add this single workspace to every of my pipeline. Let me click on assign this workspace. Now again, I want to move these all three items to this test stage. This time I'm not keeping it in a different workspace. So remember, whenever you are moving the things from one stage to another, you should also move the data set along with it. Or you should be having that data set in another workspace. If you are using any another workspace for a different stage, you should have that data set in that stage. So again, if you want to move these three things after you have made changes, you can move it by selecting and clicking on deploy. It would move it to the test stage. You can see it has created this workspace automatically, which is the test workspace. And now it is showing me that the synchronization has been completed and everything has been deployed. Again, whenever you're making changes over here, the yellow option would be showing over here, which would be telling you what are the changes that have been made into our stage, and the things are not matching in both these stages. So again, you can select that and click on deploy to deploy it to the test environment. Now you can also set some deployment rules. What are these deployment rules? So let's say that when you are working with this development stage, you are pulling out the data from a specific server. Now, whenever you are in the test stage, you are pulling out the data from another server or another source. So in that case, you need to define some rules over here, which means that the data should be pulled from a specific source. So for that, you see this flash icon with the settings icon. So you can click over here, which is basically the development deployment rules. Over here, you can choose any particular model. Let's say I'm choosing the semantic model. It will load the rules for that particular model. Over here, I have the deployment source rules and the parameter rules. So if you have created any parameters in your Power BI, those parameters would be visible over here. Currently, I don't have any parameters, so that's why it is showing me as a grayed out option. I can click on this data source rules and I can define some rules over here. So let's say I click on add rules. It would ask me that do you want to choose a new path for this particular file? So if I want to choose it, I can just choose it and I can apply the value over here. So this is how you'll be creating the rules also if you want to choose a different source for your data set every time a new stages exist. So these are some of the settings we can do in our pipeline. Again, to delete that pipeline, you can click on over here and delete the pipeline. So this was all for this session. I hope now you understand what is the use of this data pipeline and also how can you create the deployment pipeline. Thank you.